What is going on, gamers? This is your boy Grandpa Casual, and today I want to have a little conversation when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows. How some of the narrative around the game is kind of misleading. I feel like it's specifically misleading to those who happen to be casual gamers like myself and many of you out there. I think the tipping point for me was the videos that came from GamingBolt specifically. Now, I'm not going to say that GamingBolt is the only outlet that spoke on this, because there are other outlets out there, but this is just the one that has been brought to my attention. This is the one that has been on my feed and kind of like pushed out to me. So this is the one I'm going to talk about. The first video that was brought to my attention was one where they said Assassin's Creed Shadows is a blast to play. So in the video, GamingBolt says, there's a lot to talk about in Assassin's Creed Shadows in stealth, parkour, world design, and more. It feels like the strongest, most smartly designed, and most engaging Assassin's Creed entry in years. But where all of those areas are known to have stuck the landing in different points over the years, there is one particular way that Shadows impresses that feels like a new frontier for the series. Specifically, I'm referring to the way it implements its dual protagonist framework. Now, they do mention in the video that Assassin's Creed Shadow is not the only Assassin's Creed game that had multiple protagonists, but to call this a new frontier and say that this is the best version of that is a bit of a stretch in my opinion. From my playthrough, it seems like Nawe is the central character of the game itself, and Yasuke is a little bit more of an afterthought when it comes to it. I say that because Nawe seems like she is the only one of the two that actually feels like an Assassin's Creed character at the end of the day. She has the stealth, she has the parkour, and the combat. And that's a trifecta that Assassin's Creed is known for. When you have a character like Yasuke, who is a big guy, who seems to be very strong, and you're playing combat with him, and it feels floaty. It feels like the attacks don't really have weight. It feels like you're not really using a big guy. It just seems like you're kind of like hacking through enemies. It kind of took me out of it. And I feel like that makes Nawe way more fun to play than Yasuke, hands down. And I know people may have different opinions. Some people in the comments, they've said that, hey, you know what? I like Yasuke. I like how you could just go through and wreck stuff. It feels like Valhalla. For me personally, it doesn't feel like Valhalla. I feel like Valhalla's combat was a lot better. I felt like I felt the weight of Ivor's attacks. So I feel like the combat for both of those games are not really one for one. So another thing that I think was framed in a way that kind of would mislead people is how they talk about Nawe. In the video, they say going into Assassin's Creed Shadows, being a longtime fan of the franchise who had been desperately hoping for it to go back to focusing on classic stealth and parkour, after having spent the last several years actively moving away from those elements, I had little doubt in my mind that Nawe would be the character that I'd be spending the bulk of my time with. And while I have played as Nawe more than I have as Yasuke, thanks in large part to my proclivity for stealth, I've also ended up spending more time playing as Yasuke than I thought I would, and that time has been a ton of fun. Now, this is kind of subjective because everybody has their own idea of fun and what fun is. But saying that you will play more as Nawe kind of speaks to that point that Nawe is the better character. She leans more into the Assassin's Creed DNA than Yasuke does. Now, I would assume that later in the game, you probably get a lot more freedom with who you pick and who you play with. But in the beginning parts of the game, you're kind of locked in as Nawe for a while. It's not as if you get to pick who you want to play with from jump. It's kind of like you got to get the story in before you get the freedom to play the game how you want. Another point that they brought up in the video that I thought was kind of weird was where they talked about the protagonist being on equal footing. And in the video, they specifically said Shadows features two protagonists who feel more or less on equal footing. Though there is a case that Nawe is the primary driver of the central storyline, there's something happening with both characters feeling meaningfully unique from each other and offering remarkably different gameplay experiences in more ways than one. And best of all, they are both an absolute blast to play. Personally, I had more fun with Nawe than I did Yasuke. That's my experience. Like I said, when I play as her, I feel like this is Assassin's Creed. This is the type of game that this game was meant to be, which makes Yasuke in this setting and in this game not really fun to play. Now, maybe if it was a different type of game that had a different DNA, maybe Yasuke would be great. But when it comes to Assassin's Creed and what it's supposed to be, he falls flat a little bit. And that's just my opinion. And when it comes to stealth, I don't even feel like Yasuke really has stealth. So I feel like in the video when they say that, hey, guess what? Yasuke, he's not without stealth. I kind of feel like that's a bit of a reach, because in the video, they specifically say this. Yasuke isn't completely incapable of being sneaky either. Just like the dichotomy between the two protagonists in combat, though one is certainly an expert when it comes to stealth, the other is not exactly a complete novice either. Yasuke's stealth abilities are much more limited than Nawe's, but he is capable of being stealthy when he needs to in his own way. Yasuke is not designed for stealth. He's more of a wrecking ball than anything. Even his assassinations are very loud, which will aggro other NPCs at the end of the day. So I guess technically, yeah, that can be done, but I don't think that was the intention of Ubisoft to have him be a stealth character. Just to make that clear to those who might be thinking, hey, I can play as the samurai and be a stealth character. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you could, but should you? I feel like outside of the gameplay itself, even the way that the game is being framed in media is kind of misleading, because for some reason it seems like there's a lot of things that just don't add up. For instance, there's a lot of posts out there right now saying Assassin's Creed Shadow has reached 1 million players, have reached 2 million players. But then when you look at something like the Steam charts and see that there's only about 40 to 60,000 players in the game, it's like, how does that even match up? How does that make any sense? Now, overall, Steam is not the overall indicator. I know that there's other places that the game is being played, but when you look at Steam, typically with a game that's doing really good, at the end of the day, when they're doing great, you can look at Steam and it will reflect that in a lot of ways. So if you look at Baldur's Gate 3, if you look at games like Helldivers, things of that nature, when they first came out and they did really well, you could see that within the Steam numbers. And it puts a lot of question marks in my mind. It's one of those things that businesses do to prove authority. So it's kind of like, hey, look at all these people enjoying this thing. If this many people are enjoying this thing, then you'll enjoy it too. Now, like I said, I don't know where Ubisoft is getting their numbers from. I'm not part of their financial team. I'm not even part of Ubisoft. It just doesn't add up for me. Even me specifically, I did not pay for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I didn't get a review copy or anything like that. But actually, I got my game for free. Because I upgraded from console to PC, because I'm an Intel user, I actually got a free copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows and Civilization at the same time. So maybe some of those numbers are being mixed in there. I'm not really sure. But it's just something to think about, because the way that the game is being framed is like, it's a really great game. It's doing really great out there. It's an amazing game with amazing gameplay, and a lot of its flaws are kind of being ignored. At the end of the day, I really don't want to see people who are relying on these outlets to tell them the truth, to give them it straight, and get deceived at the end of the day. Like, that's something that I don't want to see, because like I said, it's happened to me in the past. But that's enough ranting from me. Let me know what you think. Are you enjoying Assassin's Creed Shadows? Are you having fun with it? Do you think I'm talking some BS? Let me know in the comments. I'm always down to have conversations with you all. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into no BS gaming discussions. And I'll see you all in the next one.